Limitless movie is a 2011 American thriller film. Imagine a pill that could solve any problem. The movie reveals around something similar. The protagonist Eddie Morra, an author who has writer's block and struggles with addiction to alcohol. He is introduced to a nootropic drug NZT-48. Eddie quickly becomes addicted and starts using the drug daily, which allows him to use 100% of his brain. Eddie Morra is a struggling author with writer's block. His girlfriend Lindy, frustrated with his lack of progress, breaks up with him. Eddie encounters Vernon, the brother of his ex-wife Melissa, who gives Eddie a sample of a new nootropic called NZT-48. Returning to his apartment, Eddie takes the drug and discovers he now has perfect recollection of everything he has ever read. His interpersonal skills are also deeply refined. He cleans his apartment obsessively in a few hours and begins writing his book. The next day, the effects having worn off, he brings the pages he wrote to his publisher, who praises them. Eddie seeks out Vernon for more NZT-48, but while he is running errands for him, Vernon is murdered. Eddie locates Vernon's NZT-48 supply and begins ingesting the drug daily. With the help of the drug's effects, Eddie spends a few weeks cleaning up his life. Testing his analytical skills on the stock market, Eddie quickly begins making large returns on small investments. He borrows $100,000 from a Russian loan shark, Gennady, and is hired at a brokerage firm, where he parlays this capital into over $2 million in just a few weeks. He also resumes his relationship with Lindy. Eddie's success leads to a meeting with finance tycoon Carl Van Loon, who tests him by seeking advice on a merger with Hank Atwood's company. After the meeting, Eddie starts experiencing hallucinations and a sense of time skipping forward. When these effects cease, 18 hours have passed which he cannot remember. Eddie goes through Vernon's ledger and learns that everyone taking NZT-48 is either in the hospital or dead. A man in a trench coat is revealed to have been following him. Eddie meets with Melissa, who informs him that she too had been on NZT-48, and that when she attempted to stop taking it she experienced a severe mental and physical rebound effect. Gennady later catches Eddie and demands the money be paid back with interest immediately. He then discovers and ingests Eddie's NZT-48, after which he begins using Eddie as his source for the drug. Desperate for a pill after Gennady takes his last dose on hand, Eddie asks Lindy to retrieve his stash from her apartment. While bringing the pills to Eddie, she notices the man in the trench coat following her. She calls Eddie for help and he encourages her to take one of the pills, which empowers her to escape. Lindy says she cannot be with him while he is on the drug because it makes him a different person. Eddie hires a laboratory in an attempt to reverse engineer NZT-48 and to experiments with NZT-48, an attorney to keep the police from investigating Vernon's death, and 2 bodyguards to protect him from Gennady, who is threatening him to obtain more NZT-48. Atwood and Carl Van Loon, their companies were going to merge. Then on the day of the merger, Atwood's wife informs Van Loon that Atwood has fallen into a coma. Eddie recognizes Atwood's driver as the man in the trench coat and realizes Atwood is on NZT-48. While Eddie participates in a police lineup, his attorney steals Eddie's whole supply of NZT-48 from his jacket. Soon afterward, Eddie enters withdrawal and hurries home after Van Loon questions him about Atwood's coma. Gennady breaks into Eddie's apartment, demanding more NZT-48, but Eddie kills him and his henchmen and escapes. Eddie meets with the man in the trench coat, surmising that Atwood had employed the man to locate more NZT-48. Once Atwood dies, they recover Eddie's stash from his attorney. A year later, Eddie has retained his wealth, published a book, and is running for the United States Senate. Van Loon visits him and reveals that he has absorbed the company that produced NZT-48 and shut down Eddie's laboratory, offering Eddie a continued supply of the drug in exchange for becoming his personal assistant. However, Eddie tells Van Loon that he has already perfected the drug and weaned himself off it, retaining his abilities with none of the side effects. He leaves and meets Lindy at a Chinese restaurant for lunch, where he orders in fluent Mandarin, leaving it unclear as to whether or not Eddie actually weaned himself off NZT-48, or if he bluffed Van Loon and still needs it. At the end one can say, Eddie has mastered NZT-48.